Okay, so now here I have given a very simple initial breakdown structure, which is similar to what we had. We had find, schedule, speaker, transport, hall arrangements, refreshments. I can start breaking this down and I will finally get into all of the activities which I have to do to achieve this. Okay, now a similar structure can be taken for a building project. So here I have taken a building and I have broken it into what in the first part it is the phases of a building project. Remember, we looked at different phases of a project, design, we looked at pre-design phase also, but here I have taken the initial part and broken into phases. You have design, your procurement, your project management, construction. I have taken construction and then broken it, divided it. I have taken the structure and again started dividing it. So this is a work breakdown structure. Now we can do this intuitively, okay, which sometimes lands us in trouble because different people see things from different perspectives. There is also different rules to do a work breakdown structure. So what we will do is we will see some of it. We will not go into too much detail as into the standards of the work breakdown structure, but our objective here is to get adequate work breakdown structure information to be able to start developing it. We will actually come back to more details on work breakdown structure in a later lecture. Are there any questions on what you see here? Yeah.
So the project management, shouldn't be the construction be under project management?
See, the project management is it actually encompasses all of it: design, procurement and construction. So these are tasks which have to be done as a part of project management and they are separate. Okay, so what you are suggesting is that I put, but construction is so which means actually the whole thing can come under project management. Okay, design, procurement and construction can come under project management. It would also I mean, I won't say it doesn't make sense, it makes sense, but in the way it's done here, the main thing is project management gets identified as a critical task which has to be done, and there is no sequence or there is no hierarchy here. It is just that these tasks these are the phases through which it is going. Okay, there is a hierarchy of components but not necessarily of roles as of now. Other questions? Okay, now I have given a simple example here. You can see this bridge. Okay, what I would like you to do is take a look at this drawing for a few minutes and then can you kind of think how would you develop a work breakdown structure for this? What are the activities you would want to represent? And let us try to identify what a proper approach is to break this project into its activities. Remember, we are trying to find activities. Any questions?
You have to look at sequence of the activities.
You have to look at sequence of the activities. Sequence actually comes a little later. Okay, if you go back, we said identifying the activities, estimating duration and then sequence. Okay, if you jump into sequence, that's okay. If that's the way you visualize it, that's fine. But when you look at this, let me explain what you see. Basically, you have a two-span bridge. You have precast piles. Okay, at the bottom, and then there are the pile cap. There's abutment. There is a pier. There are precast beams, and then there is the approach, which is built on the east side and the west side, and the road is already there. So this is the basic elements of it. So if now you are thinking, of course you need some civil engineering domain knowledge to think of the activities. What would be the activities you could think of? Surveying, yes. So let's take it more for the construction. From the construction side, you've seen the bridge.
Excavation. First comes pile.
Yes. Okay. Let's start from pile driving. Okay. So I'm taking that as the scope of what is this. Before you drive the piles, what do you do? Soil is tested. You know you need piles. You have come up with the spec. You have actually mobilized on site. You are all ready now. You have been given the construction go ahead. So if you go back, all the design is done here. The procurement, you are not worrying about the procurement here. We are assuming the cement will be available when you want, steel will be available when you want, formwork is available, equipment is available, all that we are assuming. We are coming only to the construction part of the whole bridge. So what was the first, so let's start bottom up, that is one way to go. What are you excavating? So let me say these are not, let me say these are driven piles. Okay, so I am not necessarily excavating for the piles, I am going to drive the piles in, and they are precast piles. Okay, so they have to be driven. So what do, and I assume now I can also give you an assumption the piles are precast on site. Okay, so my first activity would be to precast piles. Now that gives you a clue. It could be precast piles or precast beams. You can see the beams are also precast. Okay, what would be, so
set up the facility for the precast works.
Fine. So that's a mobilization task. Look at the structure. So now my piles are precast, my beams are precast. What are my other options? So let us go into the methodology. I precast the piles. Now what do I have to do with the piles? I have to drive the piles. Yes, I drive the piles. So after I drive it, I have to construct the pile cap. Okay, so there is some sequence coming in here, but I have to think of the pile cap. After the pile cap, I have to think of the abutment and the piers. Okay, after that the beams. Okay, and then there is a deck slab and road over it. So if you kind of look at the bridge, so you have cast piles, casting of beams. Okay, then what do you think this is? Driving the piles. Okay, the pile cap, abutment east. Okay, the middle pile cap, the pier. Okay, west piles, pile cap, abutment. Place my beam here, place the next beam, deck. Okay, and then the road. So this is a sequence. Now based on the sequence, I mean of course in the scheduling and whatever we do, the sequence plays an important part, but a lot of times we might not be able to see the sequence immediately. We just have to be able to identify the components and be able to break down the project into a component breakdown, which will then make sure that once we have all the components listed in the work breakdown structure, once we do all of it, the whole bridge should be done. Okay, so if you actually go into this, you can see all of the activities which we talked about are here. Take a look. Is there something you would think of differently? Something you would change in this?
First I might drive all the piles or
I am not even talking of sequence. I am not talking of sequence here. 1 to 15 does not imply a sequence. It just identifies activities I should complete to deliver my project. Sequence will come later. The way this is organized, is there anything which you would say, hey, I don't, this could be a little different, especially with 14 and 15. What do you think about 14 and 15?
Once the beams are constructed, we could actually do it in a single step.
Yeah, so here I am actually again you are thinking of the sequence. I am thinking of the organization. No, I am again sequence. I am thinking of organization. Is the person who does my road the same person who does the deck slab, or is my road construction different from my deck slab construction? So road requires a different kind of a way of doing this. Deck slab, I might say that, oh, this is not, I want to break this up. I want to have road separate, approach road east, approach road west, deck slab east, deck slab west as separate units of responsibility, separate components that have to be done. I am just giving it as a possible breakup. Most of the others fit logically into where they are. You can't actually, you can break it up, but they are logically fitting into what they are. This is just put as, I've just put it up as a suggestion. Now is there any other level of detail you can think on this? For example, we have cast piles. Some of you mentioned, one of you mentioned that okay, setting up the casting yard, setting up the formwork, setting up the batching plant, all of that could be represented. It depends on whether you think it's required, or you think, when I say something like that, whether it comes into the activity implied. Each of the concreting activity will require some kind of formwork. Should I say mobilize forms, this, that, or strip form, cure, all of these are there, but here it's at a much more abstract level. We will see one of the challenges of a work breakdown structure is to identify the level of abstraction you want for an activity. How detailed should I go? How abstract should I be? Okay, and we will take that up as we go through, but please keep that in mind. Any questions on this? So here I have given, we have taken construction, I can start breaking it down now. I can take superstructure, substructure, roads, procurement. Okay, again, so this is I'm actually going bottom up. I've taken the activities and I can organize it into this WBS. Okay, so we will be doing this at a later stage when we start also entering this into doing for analysis with this.
So
yeah,
it appears as if identification of activities is based on individual perception, because
yeah, so if it is based on okay, so here we come into this mix of art and science. So you are basically saying that identification of activity is right now seems more of an art than a science. No, so there is certainly a lot of art in identifying an activity, but the science of it comes to what is the purpose of the project, what is the purpose of identifying the activities. But you are right, the way you interpreted the bridge and the way we actually started structuring it, there can be differences of opinion. But let me ask you the question, you have seen the bridge in this form, how would you reorganize this?
yeah, I did actually have that in mind, breaking down the approach road and deck slab as two separate.
That is acceptable. That to me that's a reasonable suggestion, and I purposely combined it so that we can see if that is something that comes. The other parts 1 to 13, how else would you break it down?
It can be further breakdown.
You can go into further detail, no doubt about it.
No, I mean we can rearrange actually, like the pile caps. First drive all the pile caps and then start.
That sequence.
That is sequencing.
Okay.
We are not discussing sequencing. How would you logically? What is the logical structure you would have which is different? Another structure could be, I can say, concreting. Is something. Okay, or like we said earlier, I only say substructure work, superstructure work, just leave it at that. It's too abstract. This is one level of detail further. And however, so if you look on what basis is this broken down? It's a component breakdown. So we have taken the various components of the bridge and tried to break it down as much by component. So once we put all these components together, we have the bridge. And generally in construction, that is a kind of one of the most common ways and one of probably the easiest way to break down, because components are physical. But a lot of times, say something like service, a project management of a service, you cannot break it down by component. But in construction, yes, you can a lot of times break it down by component, but we have to realize that breaking down by component is still only one view. It doesn't give we might require other views of the project. For example, we might want a view from different subcontractors. I might have same subcontract, like all of concreting could be one subcontractor, which means the piling and the deck slab doesn't need different people, or I want the concreting view to the project, not the component view to the project. So these are things that can change views, and it's important to understand that these multiple views exist, and might be when we look at it from the level we are today, the component is easiest to look at. As you get into more complex situations with multiple teams looking at different aspects, you will find that there are views which you can't even see, which others need it in that perspective to be able to manage the project. Coming back to this issue of detail, remember we talked about schedule levels, level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5. So the detail you do also depends on the level of the schedule which you are working with. And sometimes when you are in the beginning and the higher levels, there is no meaning in going into too much detail. Okay, other questions or points? Okay, so here we raise this question. It's a common question. What is the level of detail required? So we would say level of detail required is basically it's to plan, communicate, monitor, control the project given the type of project, scope, package, deliverables and duration. Okay, so for example, another very important thing is the level of detail is duration. I am in a shutdown retrofit project where let us say you have a power plant and the boiler is shut down for you to do maintenance. So in this case the boiler can be shut down only for a few days, and it is critical that the boiler comes back up and the power plant starts generating again. What is the detail you will go to from a duration perspective?
An hourly duration.
It will be an hourly or even a half hourly duration, and your activities have to be at that level of detail, as opposed to I am on a project which is going to take 4 or 5 years to complete. Yeah, it can be weeks, months, because that's the level I am controlling. So the control depends on also the time scale and what is your deliverable from the project. Okay, the second question, what activity should be considered? Like we have said, WBS should be comprehensive. There should be no gaps in the job logic. Logic doesn't necessarily mean sequence. It means that once I have completed all the elements of the WBS, my job should be fully complete. All activities of my job should be accounted for. So when you talked about project management being a part, this was something that used to be missed. People wouldn't put project management in the WBS because it was not a, it was not a component or something like that. No drawings were coming out of project management, there were plans, but it's not a component. But there is a lot of money spent on project management. There are resources on project management. So we should make sure that all parts of the job are taken care of when we do this WBS, and when we decompose a WBS at each level 100% of the work applicable to the next higher level is met. So these are some of the basic rules, but still we will find that when you start trying to break a project into its activities, into its elements and organize it in the form of a work breakdown structure, it's not that easy for everyone to see the same perspective, okay, as we just experienced. Now I have just put this to show you, this is a question that is asked very commonly, what is the level of detail? And there are guidelines such as this which gives you a checklist to say, you have to answer. So if you take a look at this list, should the work package be decomposed further, it says the greater the number of positive answers to the following question, the stronger the justification for breaking down the work package. See, the rule is not, it's not a very black and white rule, it's a grey rule. Okay, so it says greater, stronger justification, and that's the nature of the job. Okay, so you can see there are a list of questions here, okay, and that doesn't end there. There are quite a few questions, and once you can answer these questions, then you probably have a justification or an answer to should I go into more detail or not. And this is the question faced by professionals. Okay, so with a lot of experience, with a lot of planning knowledge, everything, when you come in, there is still a question as to how detailed should I go in a work breakdown package. This the reference to this is given below. I would encourage you to read it if you are more curious on learning about to what level of detail to break down. Okay, so we step back, and if you take a work breakdown structure, you have multiple views. You have the product view, the process view, Okay, you can break it down by location, you can break it down by responsibility. There are many other logical views, and the challenge is that all, when you take a project and in all its stakeholders, one or the other view is always applicable to some. So what we say here is you get a multi-dimensional work breakdown structure. In some cases you have to actually take all of these views, develop a n-dimensional work breakdown structure which can be sorted the way you want based on the view you want. Today with computer programs and software that is possible. We will see a bit of that later in the course.